Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, technically today's video is supposed to be like a fall recommendation, spooky books slash like just fall reads, but then I did something. It's like not a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. It's a great thing. But pretty much I bought more books, which like I should not have done, but I did it anyway and that's fine. So now it's a fall fall recommendation video and a mini book haul because that's just what happened and that's what we're doing. First of all, I did want to say that this book cart is not in this video because last time I filmed this video, the book cart toppled to the floor 10 minutes after. I'm gonna try and put photos on here so you guys can see what happened. So we're not dragging it out. It's just staying in my room, probably forever, until I try and read some of the books off it, because all the books I'm reading now are not on it, and it's still as heavy as it was before. No one asked, but I'm letting you know that this is what happened. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to do like the recommendations first or the mini book. Actually, no, you know what? I decided right now. I'm going to do the book haul first, because me talking about other books while I have books right beside me and I can't talk about them, it's just gonna drive me nuts. So we're just gonna do the book haul first. So yeah, this is the book haul. So these books range from like various genres, which is fun because I'm trying to read outside my genre, and I feel like I read too much of my genre, which is like romance thriller, but I'm trying to branch out. So this is perfect. So this first book is called The Paris Library. It's a historical fiction. And you know what? Someone, or more than one person, keeps recommending me this book. But I don't know if it's this one or another one with Paris in it, because a lot of historical fiction titles have the word Paris in it. So this could not be the one. But I think it is the one. I don't know. And I don't know what it's about. Here we go again. I don't know. Something about books and World War II. So my thing with historical fiction is I just get bored really, really quickly, because it's a lot of description, a lot of like history, a lot of war stuff going on. This head doesn't click with me. So I can't really read historical fiction, but I'm trying. This is another attempt of me reading historical fiction. So we're gonna see how this goes. Book 2 is, why is it so high up? Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I'm an anxious person, so why would I know buy this? That's not why I bought it. But what is it? So it says a poignant comedy about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. I read the description, but I was kind of confused. I just know this author writes really good stuff, and he wrote A Man Called Ove. Who knows? And his stuff is like really heartwarming and like poignant. I've never used that word, poignant. But anyway, I thought this was gonna make me cry. But you know, I love a good cry, so I can't wait. Again, I don't know what I'm getting at this, but it's gonna happen sometime. This next book is called The Party Crasher by Sophie Kinsella. And you know what? I have not read one Sophie Kinsella book. I have her Christmas book, A Christmas Shopaholic. Is that on my Christmas TBR? I don't think so. I feel like it should be. Anyways, this is like it's not her newest because she's written like 2 or 3 other ones in the meantime. But it is one that I was very excited to read when it came out. But then I realized it came out in hardcover, which I don't like. And I realized this is hardcover, but listen, I refuse to buy it at full price. Like, I would never buy this for $36 or like $25 even. I just would not. But this was $6. So here I am with a hardcover that I don't like, but I'm gonna read because it's cheap and I bought it. So I think it's about this woman who crashes this party and like stuff is happening with the family. It's like really fun family dynamics, and like she's not supposed to be at the party, but like I think there's a romance in there too. She writes romance. So this sounds fun. And oh, I almost dropped it. But yeah, no, these next 2 books, they are by the same author, and I have read one of the author's other books and I really like them. He just writes really, really sad philosophical books, and they're not really spiritual. Well, they're not necessarily Christian, but reading them as a Christian, they have like Christian undertones to it. Like I can like see different things that, I don't know, maybe other people might not, or like they have different meanings for me than they do for others. but the author is called Mitch Albom. No, he's not called Mitch Albom. His name is Mitch Albom. The first one is called Tuesdays with Maury, and this is a memoir. I think it's about this actually, funny story. So I thrifted this book, right? And I found this photo of this grandma and her mom. No, this mom and her daughter, or this lady and her grandma. I'll just show it to you. Like, they're so cute. And if you're out there, you're watching, I have your photo. I doubt they're watching this, but just in case, I'm just gonna show it again. Yeah, I just thought that was really funny. I actually forgot about it. But yeah, this book is a memoir, and it's about his relationship with like one of his teachers. It just has an old man, a young man, and life's greatest lesson. So I'm assuming his teacher teaches him something. And it's like so short, but I'm sure it's gonna make me bawl my eyes out like a baby, like his other book did. Next book by Mitch Albom is A Stranger in Lifeboat. This one is very like similar to a story in the Bible where like Jesus walks on water and like the disciples are in the boat, but it's like very different. Basically what it says is, what would happen if we cried out to God for help and someone claiming to be God actually appeared before us? In Mitch Albom's profound new novel, a group of shipwrecked passengers must face the challenge when a strange man they pull from the water says he can save them all, but only if they believe in him. That just sounds fun. I know I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I know it's hardcover, but we're just going to ignore the fact that it is. I feel like I can read these two in between like something, you know? Like when I plan a TBR for the month, and this is like one of those unplanned books I could probably read because his stuff reads really, really fast. And it's just like emotionally, you gotta be ready, you know? But I'm always ready for a cry. So these are the books I bought, 5 in total. Value Village is where I bought them. If you are in Canada, Value Village is where you should go for books because they're just the best. They have this deal where you buy 4, you get 1 free. And then the most expensive one is always $6. So you'll pay $25 and you'll leave with 5 books. You'll never pay more, which is a great deal because usually you spend $25 on 1 book, but these were all 25. And like, they're not like new releases, but like they're pretty recent, I would say, or like in the past 5 years. So yeah, well actually maybe this one would be older, it doesn't matter. But yeah, these are the books I bought. Alrighty, moving on to my fall recommendations video. I almost said TBR again, which is not right because I've read all these books and I actually don't have any of them. So they're just gonna be up beside me. And I don't know, I think I want to categorize these by like genre. So I might start with romance. Does that make sense? What? Why wouldn't it make sense? It's gonna make sense. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start with romance. First romance book is called The Dead Romantics, and this is probably like one of my all-time favorite romances I've read. I don't know if it takes place in the fall. It just has like fall vibes to it. It's basically about this ghostwriter. Her name is Florence, who sees dead bodies. So isn't that kind of funny? Like, do you get it? No. She had this really, really close relationship with her and her dad, but her dad passed away. So she has to go back to her hometown and kind of deal with everything that's going on while there is this ghost that she's seeing. So like a lot of stuff is happening. This book was so good. It has like a bit of magical realism to it, so you have to suspend belief for a bit, but it's so good, you know? Like, it had like everything I wanted in a romance. It had the banter, it had just a really, really sad grief element to it, which I personally love in romance. I love to cry. This one made me cry. It also made me laugh, which I feel like, you know, you want a book that makes you laugh. Like, rom-coms are supposed to make you laugh. But I think that when I actually laugh out loud, even if it's like a chuckle, that's how you know you got me. Because I always laugh in my head. But when I laugh out loud, that means it's funny. But I also do laugh at like almost everything. So take that with a grain of salt. And that is the first book. Second book is also by this same author, Ashley Poston. It's called The 7-Year Slip. This one is very, very new. It just came out last year, I believe. Or was it this year? I don't know. I remember reading it very recently. And this is about this woman named Clementine. And the only reason I remember her name is because in the book, the guy calls her Lemon. That's his like nickname for her, which is kind of cute, I guess, but it also gets annoying a lot. But this is not a critique of the book because I love the book. But her name is Clementine, and she was really, really close to her grandmother, and then her grandmother passed away and left her her apartment. Also, this author I think is known for writing sad stuff, and like there's always like a death in her books, which is great because we love grief, you know. Not great. Death is not great, but like grief. I like to read about grief, personally. I feel like New York books, just books that take place in New York, always just like, I just think of fall. Never winter. It's just always like fall and like the leaves are falling and everything. But this apartment has like a bit of like a slip to it. So pretty much it can go back 7 years in time. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, there's something going on in this apartment. It goes back 7 years forward. So then Clementine, one time she gets home and she sees this like man in her house and she's like, well, who are you? And then she finds out that he's a guy from 7 years before. And then like stuff starts to happen. It's just this really great romance, and like he's a chef and like he cooks these delicious meals. And you get like the really good banter as well. You get like the really sad story. This was great. I love this one as well. I like the Dead Romantics more. Also, both of these, like they have really, really pretty covers. I think I gave the 7 Year Slip 4 stars and then the Dead Romantics 4.25. I'm just so picky with romance. The more I read it, the more I get pickier. But yeah, those are 2 romances that I recommend. So I'm gonna move on to thrillers slash mysteries. I'm gonna start with one of my favorite thrillers of all time. And this is called In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife. I've only posted like 2 videos so far, but if I ever have a recommendation video of like for like thrillers or anything, like books you should read, this will be on every list because it is probably one of the best thrillers I've ever read. And as you can see from this cover, it's like dark academia, and it's about this group of friends, and they went to college together. And then when they were in college, there used to be 7, but one of them died. And then it's 20 years later, or like 10 years later, and they're going for their college reunion. But someone there, like not in one of the 6, but like someone at that college reunion is determined to find out how that person actually died. And they think one of the 6 killed her. So you're going back and forth in every person's POV, and you're looking at them from the past, and you're looking at them from the present, and it is just this like really, really well-written character study, thriller, murder mystery, like dark academia book where you just like fall in love with all these characters, but they're all like really messed up people and they all have like their own like secrets and everything. And it's just so great. And it has probably one of like the best twists I've read. Or just like, it has that like thing where at the end you're like reading and like it's all wrapped up and everything. And then there's like a final twist. And then you're like, what? It's just great. And Ashley is also like the kindest human being ever. I have spoken with her before on Instagram and she's just the sweetest soul. But she writes like really dark thrillers, which is so crazy because if you ever like see her talk or like meet her, she'll just be like this kindest, genuine, most sweetest person. And then she writes these like really, really dark thrillers. But that was a really, really good one, and I recommend it all the time. If you love dark academia, if you're into like those kinds of books with like you're trying to figure out who did it, this one's gonna be great. Another one that I recently read is called The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And this one is, okay, I don't know the characters' names or the plots. I'm just gonna try and pull it up. One moment. Okay, yes. This is what it's about. I know what it's about, but anyways, it's about this like woman who's like taking this like like nurse position, in-house nurse, for this older woman who supposedly had killed her family like a long, long time ago. And this house was like up on the hill, and like the woman has never spoken. Like she's been spoken in like decades, I think. And then the nurse goes there, blah, 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 weird things start to happen. And then she starts typing and she's like, okay, I'm gonna tell you my story. So basically the novel is just like going back and forth. I think it's in past tense too, I don't remember. But you're learning her story, you're learning what's going on, and you're just uncovering these like really, really dark, creepy secrets that are going on. And it is just thrilling. Riley Sager, if you've read anything by him, is just like one of the best thriller authors I've ever read. And he just writes these really nuanced thrillers where like there's so many twists. He always shocks me. Like that ending was insane. And I think I gave this book 5 stars, which is actually crazy for me because I don't give a lot of books 5 stars. But this might have been like 4.75, but I rated it 5 stars on Goodreads, which means it's sort of a 5-star. It actually might be one of the only 5-star books I've read this year. And he writes women really well, which is always shocking because sometimes men write women really not well. If you like the gothic mystery, like murder mystery, like what's that lady's name? Lizzie Borden, very Lizzie Borden. And yeah, it's just great. Okay, I shifted the frame, so now it looks different. But this next book, it's kind of like a different sort of thriller. I wouldn't even call it a thriller actually. I'd call it more of like a psychological dark fiction, which is like one of my favorite like subgenres of like, I don't know, thriller. It's not thriller, but it's like psychological fiction or fiction. But it's called Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka? Kukafka. That's how you say it, I think. Maybe. I could be wrong. And this is actually being adapted into either a show or movie. So it's pretty much about this serial killer called Ansel Packer, and he's about to like die pretty much. And you hear his life from 3 different point of views of women. So his mom, his sister, and then homicide detective. And you just kind of unpack his life from these 3 point of views of women. And it is just so, like, just beautiful. Like, it is great. It is, I'm going to say well written again, because it's like probably one of the best prose I've ever read. And it's one of those books where you like, kind of like read it slowly, just like to take it all in, because it's packed with so much like stuff about his life and just the way, like, I don't know. I don't remember reading this book, but I do remember loving it. No, I do remember reading it, and I remember enjoying it a lot. And I think it's one of those like rare books where you don't really see that a lot, like the point of view of someone's life written in different people's voices, especially 3 different women. And it is just amazing. And it's not fall, it's just very creepy and like slow burn, and like you're just unraveling a serial killer. I guess this is time for like Halloween, sort of like spooky-ish. But yeah, that is one really, really good book if you enjoy just like the slow burn psychological fiction, like character study books. Another one that I recently read is called The Quiet Tenant, and it is about this man who lives with his daughter, and he has this woman captive in his like shed, and she's been captive for like, I think it's over like 10-15 years, and it's told in her point of view, and then his point of view, and then this other woman who's interested in him. So, or is it actually told in his point of view? It might actually be only told in the woman's point of view. I could be wrong, but let me check. Or it's like told in like three women's point of view. I was wrong. It's told in the captor's point of view, the woman who's interested in the point of view, and then his daughter's point of view. But you kind of get his life. And it's just, it's amazing. Like I think I realized that I like stories like this a lot, because you're not getting his voice at all, but you're learning so much about him through other people's voices. And I just find it really fascinating. And you have to be really talented to be able to write like that, because how do you write about a character that who's not even talking? But yeah, that was very similar to Notes on an Execution. And it's just like one of those spooky, kind of creepy reads, and it has a really good ending. I'd say they're both a bit feminist in a way, but overall just very like slow burn, but like you get through it pretty quick. This one. The other one I think you have to take your time with a little, but this is another really good one. Next, we have our horror slasher kind of books. And I'm putting these in their own genre. Like slasher, I guess, could be considered a type of thriller, but like slasher is like Scream, you know, like those kind of books. And I guess there's only one really in this category for slasher. This one's called The Final Girl Support Group, and it is by Grady Hendrix. And if you've read Grady Hendrix before, or if you've heard of him, he writes these really, they're not like corny. Well, this one is not. This one's really gory. But his other books are sort of like kind of funny. But this one is essentially your like perfect slasher book. Like it's about a couple different women who have all been final girls in like their own life. And then they have this like support group that they go to. And then one of them dies. And then slowly more of them start to die. And then you're learning that someone is targeting the final girls. It's just this like wild, insane ride of like who's the killer, and very gory, very graphic, which I don't usually like gore, but I love like the Scream franchise, and I love those kind of books. And it's just so fun. And also the author, he also writes women really well. And in the middle of like a couple of chapters, you'll get like actual transcripts or like actual stories from like real final girls, like in real life. And it's just insane, like the things that have happened to them, like it's crazy. But that was a really good one. Another one by Grady Hendrix. This is not a slasher, it's more of like horror. It's called How to Sell a Haunted House. And this is, I think, his most recent book that just came out this year. And it's about these 2 siblings whose mother has died, or parent has died, I don't remember. Or parents, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. And they have to go back to like figure out the home situation. And again, he writes like horror, but it's like comedy horror. And this one deals with grief a lot. I think it's actually split up into like the 4 parts of grief or 5 stages of grief. But this one I'd say is more horror comedy because there's like creepy dolls. Okay, disclaimer. If you don't like dolls, don't read this book. Like, don't read it at all because it's gonna freak you out. Like, it's terrifyingly creepy because these dolls are like, yeah, they're dolls and that come to life probably and like do the worst things ever. And it's a bit graphic as well. There's just like one scene that just is ingrained in my head and I wish I didn't read it because I hate thinking about it. It's like, it's just funny as well. Like it's supposed to be scary, but like you're kind of scared, but you're also like laughing at the same time. Like it's like weird, but his stuff is great. And that's another really good horror book. I think I gave these both 4 stars. So yeah, first one is more a slasher. This one's more on like the ghosty goo side of horror. This third one that I'm gonna recommend is probably gonna be my last one. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But this is called The Last House on Needless Street. And this is probably one of my favorite books I've ever read, actually. And it was just an instant 5-star for me. It's by Katrina Ward. And it is like probably the weirdest book you'll ever read. Like going into this, I didn't know what was going on because the description is pretty much, there's this woman, young woman, her sister has disappeared. And then there's this house where an old man lives. And she's trying to find out what happened to her sister. And this old man lives in this house. And you think you know what's going on. Like you think you do. But you actually have absolutely no idea what's happening in this book. Because it is just so insanely like complex. And it's one of those books I'd call realistic horror. Because it deals with like realistic horror is what I'll say. But it's just this really twisty and like complex novel where like I can assure you, you will never figure this out. Like you're gonna be like, what the heck? Because when I read it and the twist came and I was like, wait, I still don't get it. So it took me a second, but just instant 5-star. Also deals with some subject matter, but it's just so good. And I always recommend that book to like in time for spooky season. Like it's just so great. And I love it. And there's also a talking cat in that book. So why would you not? Or no, not a talking cat. A cat who reads the Bible. So take that whichever way you will. I don't know why you would read that book. But yeah, it's very eerie, atmospheric, gothic. Okay, wait, I lied. There is one more book. And this one I also gave 5 stars. Okay, this might be my favorite horror book that I've read. Okay, maybe both of them. I think actually this one I like a little more. But it's basically about, what is it called? It is called Hidden Pictures by Jason Recollet. And it is about this woman who just came out of rehab and she goes to take this nanny job for a little kid. And he's like the sweetest, most adorable kid. And he starts drawing these like drawings and like they start off really, really cute. But then they turn like more sinister and sinister and more sinister. And one thing I loved about this book is that the photos are in the book. Like the pages of the drawings are in there and they just get creepier and scarier as they go. And it is just the most fun and insane, like wild ride horror book that I've ever read. It's a bit of thriller, psychological horror, there's a bit of ghosty horror, but it's just so good. And I don't know how to explain this, but I think that this is probably one of the most easiest books I've read. Like his language is just so simple. I feel like an ESL student could read this because it's such simple language and it reads like really, really fast, if that makes sense. But that is just amazing. I could not recommend that book more. If you're into horror and more of on like the ghost side of horror, I think you must read. Well, all these books you must read, but that one, if you're gonna read any, you have to read that one. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you got some good book recommendations out of this video, and I hope you enjoyed my mini book haul. There probably will be another one of these soon. Like I don't have self-control, and that's fine because I have no space anywhere. But I kind of like that there's just books everywhere around this apartment and it just feels homey, you know, rather than having a bookshelf, which is probably the smart thing to do, to get a bookshelf. And I could invest in one, but I like to be chaotic because that's just my life and I'm just chaos. So it's just more fun that way. Yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.